Well, that's why I clapped, just so you could re-add that in there.
Okay, that's fine.
'Cause I realized you guys didn't restart, so it's fine. We're good.
We're good.
Well, actually, I stopped mine, and I'm going to restart it once the stream's actually working. Loading video. Oh, I think
We're
it's
live!
working.
We're live!
Oh my
We're
god.
live!
Right, don't touch anything.
Okay, my Audacity's going again.
Right. Okay, let's do this. Right, go on, Tarley. We're going to figure this out as we go. So,
have the intro queued up to play, right?
sorry?
Do you have the intro queued up to play?
No! I knew there was something.
Do you have the ability to play our sounders?
I think I do.
Wow.
Oh, this is going to be the most made up.
So, episode 50, we still don't know how to do things.
Okay. Let's just
Let's just go.
screw what we planned.
Let's just go. There are going to be no. Let's just go without sounders for the stream.
Right.
Let's just. I'll have that one.
Good day, fellow geeks, and welcome to episode 50 of Geeks of Azeroth. My name's Tarley, and with me, as always, we've got Zool and Britzza.
Hey.
Woo! You'll
This is
notice
the most-
the absence of you'll notice the absence of an intro this week because, well, someone wasn't prepared. Illidan would be happy.
Yeah, I was about to say, not me.
Illidan was not prepared.
Illidan's always.
Well, how you guys doing? It seems like it's been forever since the three of us have been on a show together.
It's been
Yeah.
ages, absolutely ages. I mean, I think probably almost a month now since we've been on the same show.
Probably, because last week was just me and Britzza. The week before that was just Britzza and Tarley.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the week before that, it was also just me and Britzza.
Quite possibly.
So here we are. We're back. Our family is
Woo!
reunited.
I'm gonna cry.
It feels so good.
And for our 50th kind of birthday, no, it's not birthday really, is it? It's kind of just our 50th.
It's our 50th birthday.
It feels like a birthday. Episodes feel like birthdays for some reason.
So we get birthdays every week?
Yeah, we're
Woo!
almost like the Queen.
Where's my presents? Wait, I have a backlog of
our
presents I'm
listeners
supposed to get,
never-
apparently.
I know our listeners never get us anything nice.
Their presence is
I was expecting presents from you guys.
Oh,
I don't see that happening anytime soon.
Oh.
well,
Go on.
how's everyone's time in Azeroth been?
Dominated by Apexis crystals and the legendary quest, and my ship's dying in the shipyard, and I realised that flying's coming in soon, and I haven't done anything. So
Yeah.
dailies, and dailies, and that seems to be my life so far. What about you, Zul?
What about you, Zool?
Well, I only just recently got a working computer again after that whole ordeal. So I did log in yesterday, but I didn't really do anything. I had to like reset up my LVUI and all that kind of stuff, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Because I had lost all the settings to all my add-ons, and I don't remember which add-ons I was using, so I've been just kind of logging in and logging out and, you know, getting my add-ons going again. I haven't actually had any time to play yet. But I do plan on maybe working towards all that stuff for flying, and for sure working on the legendary quest this week.
It's a weird one, but do you not think it's kind of weird? Like, you remember the end of Pandaria where we were all kind of trying to do a bit towards the legendary quest, and I completed mine.
And I never got it.
Well, that's it. And
I was there a long time before you guys were.
You had like 8 of them, and I never got one.
I'm working towards it on my 300s at the moment, so kind of at the same point. Sort of.
Well, with the flying patch, they're adding like a catch-up mechanism to make the legendary quest easier.
Really? What?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah. So, you know, in like a week.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I might just wait for that then. But I mean, saying that, it's not a terrible legendary quest. It's so repetitive. and it's just grind. And I'm a bit miffed that they didn't change what they said they were going to change in the cloak quest. You know,
Yeah.
it's just still collecting the same stuff. Really, it's just got a different name. But
Well, enjoy it while it lasts, because there's no legendaries next expansion.
we're not
So
getting
far
them.
that they've announced.
No
Maybe
leg-
they'll magically announce some at some point.
But how? I need my legendary pants to go with my cloak and ring.
Yes, legendary codpiece.
Legendary codpiece. That is legendary something, surely. I mean, I hope heirloom, or not heirloom. Sorry, the artifacts aren't the only cool thing we're gonna get. I guess maybe that makes
Well,
sense.
double jumping.
Oh, double jumping, yeah. Okay, that will do.
That's the other cool thing we're getting
That's worth it.
if you're a demon hunter. But anyways, Tarley, how's your weekend? Wow.
Well, ever since the last time I was on a show, I have been living on a farm with very, very slow internet. Not permanently, thankfully, but I'm barely able to do the show today. But I have not been able to do much in World of Warcraft aside from moving around because it's so laggy. But I've done old content. I've done a lot of old content because I'm the only person there. Therefore, I'm not going to be slowed down. So that's been fun. Been running like Ulduar and ICC, actually getting Frostmore. I don't remember which weapon Arthas has and which one I'm getting, but that legendary. I've been working on that, so that's fun.
Oh, nice.
It's Shadowmourne, I think, isn't it? You have to use the pieces of Frostmourne to get Shadowmourne. So yeah, so I guess that's less pieces to go into your next artifact weapon. So
Yes. Oh, we all know I'm not going to play my Death Knight that expansion anyway. It'll be Demon Hunter or nothing.
as will everyone. I remember the good old days when Burning Crusade came out and you started up your Draenei character and you couldn't do anything.
Yep.
Because all the quests were mobbed. So
And we're gonna have so many different types of the Illidan name.
Yep.
I think about the starting zone as well.
Oh.
It's like its background is it's a suicide mission, and the demons are gonna be like, "Ah ha ha, Illidan, there's no way you can stop us." And it's gonna be swarmed with like 1 million Death Knights, not Death Knights, sorry, Demon Hunters.
Demon Hunter.
Well,
Why are there so many?
I'd have thought. Let me know what you guys think. What if Blizzard makes Demon Hunters available in patch 7.0, like the pre-patch,
Ooh,
and you can
do
level
all
up
that
to
then.
100?
And then you're just kind of waiting.
I think it would be good for this wave.
So you could do the starter experience, and then it's like,
And you have to
and now you're
like,
headed
you
to the
have
Broken
to
Isles.
pre-purchase
Please wait for the expansion.
pending.
Like, I think
It's
it would make
there's
sense.
just
I
a
think it would help.
big, there's just a big gate, like Jurassic Park style gate that you're standing in front of on the Broken Shores, and it just says like, closed. Oh, the island is closed.
Or you have to take like a ticket.
Well, I don't know. I think it would make sense. It would help alleviate a lot of people in the Demon Hunter starting zone right off the bat when the expansion launches, which is already going to be flooded with people. And then Demon Hunters would be starting like the race to 110 with everyone else too. They're not going to be, how many other levels behind. I think it'd be interesting.
It makes sense, and I guess it's a way to sort of introduce that lore a bit earlier. So yeah, I guess it couldn't hurt the franchise. It's just the problem is that Demon Hunters are part of that product, and I think who gets it? I think it would make sense, but Blizzard would probably have to do it like if you've pre-ordered, then you get
Right?
that.
Yeah, if you've pre-ordered, yeah,
you get it, because otherwise you could get Demon Hunters without paying for the next expansion. But like happened with last time, what did you get for pre-ordering? The level 100 boost. Oh, sorry, level 90 boost. And I think that's a clever way actually for Blizzard to use those, because if they did do the same thing with Demon Hunters this time, that was your pre-order bonus. Obviously, if you create a Demon Hunter, you've used it, so you can't obviously then go back and ask for your money back, really. So.
Oh yeah. That'd be.
But hey, that's the.
Well, yeah, Blizzard do it. All right. Well, should we move on to the news of the week?
Sure.
All right, so, is this thing recording? News of the week. All right, that was my
that was pretty good.
I thought that was it for a second. That was great.
You're like, he's playing it somehow.
What's happening?
All right, so there's a good amount of news coming this week. I mean, starting with someone got announced to be hosting the talent contest, and his name is Will Wheaton.
Will Wheaton.
That's what I said, Will Wheaton.
Shut up, Wesley.
No, it's Will Wheaton.
That's what I'm saying, Will Wheaton. Will Wheaton. Will Wheaton. Will Wheaton.
Look it up, people. You'll get the
No,
reference.
No, this is very exciting. Will Wheaton is going to be hosting the BlizzCon Talent Contest this year. That's
So excited.
awesome. I didn't know he was a Blizzard person or interested in Blizzard things.
So excited.
Will he do better than Chris Hardwick?
I'm not sure.
I think Chris Hardwick did a great job. I mean, he's a comedian and all that. He did a really good job. But it's Will Wheaton.
Yeah,
It's Will Wheaton.
I think Will Wheaton's just he's the right sort of person just to have a bit of fun with this, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he'll be awesome. So all we need now is for them to announce the musical guest as being Weird Al, and I'll be set.
Oh, no, we said that last year. I'm not getting my hopes up.
I think we'll probably hear the band announcement.
Actually, I don't want them to do that this year. They need to do it next year when I'll be going.
When we're all there, that's it. Yep, so Weird Al, stay as far away from BlizzCon as possible.
Until I have a ticket.
That's when he'll go.
And
Oh,
then-
that's
and
right,
then
Saul's got the
get your
ticket. I'll
butt
go
in
now.
And I'll just like cry the whole time I'm there nonstop in joy.
Would he come up with his own custom song, though, do you think?
Probably.
Yeah, I think he'd have to.
Oh, of course.
Probably.
But, yeah, it's exciting stuff. Exciting stuff.
All right, so other news this week. Well, here, Britzza, you should talk about this next one.
Yeah, so as we all know, WoW's dead.
Yep. We all quit.
So yeah, well, I think I'm practically make up half the subscriber base at the moment. So yeah, I am. I basically am payrolling Blizzard at the moment. But the big news is that WoW. We always say that WoW could have its first big challenger. And I respect to other MMOs like Star Wars, WildStar, and so on and so forth. They are competing with us, but no one's ever lived up to the proper subscriber level competition. And it turns out that might be changing because Final Fantasy XIV Heavensward has reached more than 5 million registered accounts, and as obviously people know, subscribers for WoW are down to 5.6 million, probably a little bit lower now, and I can't see them jumping up anytime soon. So we could have, in the next couple of months, WoW moving into the second spot of MMOs.
See, but I feel like the title of this is incredibly misleading. Because the title of this article says Final Fantasy XIV is closing in on World of Warcraft's crown. And it says, they have, 5 million registered accounts. How many registered accounts does WoW have?
Exactly.
We had like 12 million players at a time at one point, which means we probably have way more than that registered accounts, like at least like 15 to 16 million registered accounts. How many accounts are actually
I have 2 accounts. Right?
active?
So, I mean,
yeah, exactly.
Well, even then, if you unsubscribe, your account doesn't get deleted, so we have at least
It's still
10
a
million.
registered account. Like, this isn't how many active accounts Final Fantasy XIV has.
yeah,
this
like
is how
I
many
have a
registered
Final
accounts
Fantasy
it
account.
has.
I don't play it. I'm not subscribed. But
I have one too, so I'm part of that number.
But perfectly good
but
point.
it's still an interesting
Yeah.
point to look at.
Yeah, it's
Like
perfectly...
Blizzard.
Go on, Sadi.
I mean, it's just I didn't think another MMO would even get relatively close to WoW's numbers. So it is definitely something to look at. But again, anytime subscriber numbers go down or another games go up, it's like WoW's dying. Oh my god!
It's all
not the
over.
case. It's never the case.
Final Fantasy XIV is an awesome game, honestly. I think it's really good.
Yeah, it's cool.
And plus, they've just had a really exciting expansion come out. So,
Yeah.
the fact they've had a million registered
They just
accounts-
introduced flying
Yeah.
to Final Fantasy XIV,
Blizzard,
so have fun with that,
Oh,
guys.
that's the end of it. It's gonna die now.
Yeah, well,
Yep, it's gonna die. They're gonna have the same problems Blizzard has had now.
but it does bring an interesting point, that I think, putting everything aside for a second, you're right. It has a feature in its game that it's marketing, it's selling, that Blizzard's gone out and said that it doesn't want in its game. It can't.
Mhm.
It's never got flight
funny.
combat right. It's never really done it properly. Whereas Final Fantasy knows what it can do, and it's different. I don't know if it's intentionally trying to hit areas that Blizzard's not hitting, like, you know, aerial combat and those sort of Dragon Knight themes, but still, you know, it has flying, and WoW doesn't, at least not yet. So, but I guess the question to ask is, let's say, I say worst case scenario, let's say, for example, by the time we get to Legion, Heaven's Ward has more active players than WoW does. WoW, by Legion, WoW has officially moved to the number 2 slot, maybe even lower if something else comes up. Will people then say, WoW's dead?
Well, they'll say WoW is dead regardless.
They're saying WoW's dead now, but do you see what I mean? Like, would we have to accept that? Okay, WoW's not the, you know, well, it wouldn't be the biggest MMO, but
the reigning champ.
The reigning champ, exactly. Has the reigning champ been, you know, temporarily knocked out for a little while?
It would be interesting if the game that knocks it out is another subscription. I mean, if it's Final Fantasy, because like even the free-to-play games aren't passing up WoW. So if it's another sub-based game, I wonder what that'll do. What that'll do with the genre.
Well, do people consider Destiny an MMO? Because that game has 16 million players. So I mean,
I don't
that
know.
one's already beating WoW by a huge number.
But there's the interesting point, and this applies to Final Fantasy, is that both that and Destiny exist on PC and console.
No,
Well, Destiny
Destiny's
doesn't.
not on PC.
Does Destiny not?
Destiny's console exclusive.
Oh, is it?
Yep.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yep.
Well, nevertheless, I think the console market's just bigger in general.
Right. What if WoW came to console?
Well, it could feasibly. There's no reason why it couldn't.
They need to prune down the action bars some more.
4-button rotation. Yes, mages for the win. Woo! But no,
Everybody has a one-button rotation.
it would work. It would work. But I guess you'd probably want to move to like almost Skyrim interface on WoW, wouldn't you? Like first person.
Yeah, but that is a good point. Like just the consoles in general, just the fact that it's on PlayStation 4 is really going to increase the player base.
Yeah, and
Because there's so many more console gamers than there are PC gamers.
and what I was going to suggest
it's
is,
true.
does that mean it shouldn't really count? Like Heaven's Ward has console and PC, whereas WoW only has PC.
Well, I guess
and it's still,
if we really wanted to compare, you'd have to only compare the PC accounts.
And I think as well, like the good news story of this is that despite the fact WoW lost 44% of its subscribers since Warlords released, and Heaven's Ward just gained 1 million since February, it still hasn't beaten us. You know, we've had the absolute snot kicked out of us, yet we're still the reigning champ. And
Yeah,
I think that's
the lead that WoW had built up is just so big at this point.
we've had to half our subscribers, and we're still pretty much untouchable.
Just hearing that number though, still like we lost 44% of subscribers since Warlords came out.
That is pretty crazy.
Yeah,
That's 44% more LFR for all of us. Yes. Get to share the love there. But, you know, at the same time, we look at other MMOs. I mean, I was on the on Heroes of the Storm with Sparky last night. We were streaming some of that. And Drakehouse was mentioning in the chat that since WildStar announced free-to-play, they've had 1 million subscribers added. So just to get that right, it hasn't gone free-to-play yet, but the announcement of free-to-play means people have joined up and paid money to join up for a game that's then going to go free-to-play. So, you know, there's another... Sorry, it might be 1 million, it might be 100,000. Or I might be getting those numbers horrifically wrong. But the point being, sorry, is that, you know...
Horrifically wrong.
Okay, I think I might have to check that one.
The title of the episode, Horrifically Wrong.
Horrifically wrong facts.
yes, there's the title.
1 million or 100,000. I'm near enough right. But yeah, at the same time, what I'm trying to say is that these games are growing. So if WoW's going to keep decreasing, then obviously the gap's going to close a little bit. But it's just, I guess it's a question of, you know, are we happy eventually moving to the second spot, third spot. You know, again, this is another version of the same question again, which is how low can WoW go just to keep ticking along? And you know, I think it could probably slip down into about 5th place. I think once it goes into 6th place, obviously everyone will start playing what's more popular, and that will be a huge pressure.
Well, it already kind of seems like the vibe in Blizzard is that WoW is not their big moneymaker anymore.
And no, it's not. It's Hearthstone.
Yeah,
and
it's
Heroes.
not. Which is weird. I mean, how can a game that's bringing in $15 times 5 million a month not be your biggest moneymaker?
Because
Hearthstone.
Like, do you realize how crazy that is?
Yeah, but it's Hearthstone. It's people paying $40
how crazy that is
for packs.
So WoW is bringing in, I mean, like, rough math, WoW is bringing in $75 million a month.
Mhm.
And it's not their
And
biggest
that's not
moneymaker.
including that's not including all the services that WoW offers, like character transfers.
Exactly,
and all
that's
that too,
just subscription price. That's just subscription price.
Plus the actual...
That's insane.
Plus the money, you know, actually buying the expansions each time.
And all that money's going towards Overwatch.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Which we'll eventually see, but you know, like you say, it's not their main focus, but at the same time, it's a huge part of their franchise. I mean, they are
Warcraft will be a part of Blizzard forever, like you know it will be.
It has to be. I think, you know, StarCraft, Diablo, or Warcraft, that will have to be the last game of Blizzard. You know, if Blizzard were to die, they'd go out making one of those 3.
Yeah,
but
a combination of the 3.
At the same time, I guess another question I guess sort of bring this topic to a close would be, could you ever imagine? I mean, you've mentioned, Tarley, that you play, well, actually, both of you mentioned you play Destiny at the moment. The pull from other inverted commas MMOs, I realise I'm not sure whether Destiny counts as an MMO, but the pull from other games and other MMOs in particular is huge. I'm very tempted to play Final Fantasy. I'm very tempted to play Wildstar now it's going free to play.
I was playing Final Fantasy a couple months ago again. I jumped back in for a little while.
So
and when Wildstar goes free to play, I'll probably jump into that a little bit every now and then.
I think I will jump
in. And I played Wildstar in beta and then played it right when it came out. I really liked it.
So once it's free to play, you know, there's nothing like, well, why shouldn't I jump in and try it again? You know, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And it's when I think of that suddenly Blizzard's whole approach to WoW suddenly makes sense. If its fan base are people who are multitasking MMOs or multitasking several, you know, established games in general, games that they're committed to, then jumping in for 15 minutes and doing a daily or something like that makes a load of sense. But I worry that that's the way the game's going, that it's becoming so sort of...
I think that's the way it was going. I think they're kind of turning that around.
They're going to try and hold it on, but it's interesting because I wonder how many WoW players also play Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
But hey, we're still winning. That's the main thing.
We're still winning.
We're still winning.
Eat it.
And
Yes.
that's it. We're all in this together. But we're all in this together. Apart from those losers, they're not like us. Ha ha ha. So
we're all in this together unless you don't play WoW.
Exactly. That's it. That's a much better.
Which means
Then why are you listening to this show in the first
place? All in this together.
But yeah, at the end of the day, we're still the largest MMO, and we're just waiting for Legion. There's going to be so many people rejoining once Legion actually turns up, and Heaven's Ward.
And again, I don't think there's anything to worry about until the numbers go under 1 million. Honestly,
yeah,
I mean, people will be playing. Blizzard will still be supporting it until it's literally dead. So,
and honestly,
or until they magically announce, oh, we have a World of Warcraft 2 that we never told you guys about. Here it is.
What?
Or Titan isn't actually dead. They're just distracting us with Overwatch.
They're like, look at the pretty things.
Or they just released the next expansion after Legion, and apparently Arthas wasn't dead, and he's come back. So. Entombed in ice.
Well, Gul'dan goes back into that tomb and he breaks Arthas out of some ice or some green crystal thing, and now Arthas is like controlled by demons, and it's
Burning Legion round.
Anyway,
then Deathwing would be after that, and then the Shaw.
Right, so let's take off the tinfoil hats and move on to our next
Fell infested Shaw. Okay, let's go.
So World of Warcraft Warlords of Draenor will add flying mounts and mercenary mode on September 1st. Supposedly, they have basically said on the forums that this date isn't even solid. That it's just the date that they're pushing for. They basically merged two patches together, and that's why it's taken so long to get this one out. So, any thoughts on this patch, guys? I mean, does it really bring enough content that we should be excited for?
So let's just
don't
check
know.
this quickly. So we're getting flying. We're getting mercenary
Well,
mode for Ashran.
Time walking is getting changes on the types of rewards that you get.
Yep.
You're gonna have special vendors to go like buy rewards, I guess.
Yes,
A
which
new
is
currency.
fantastic.
That's what we needed.
Oh, it sounds like
I think so.
they're doubling back on reputation vendors.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit. I mean, that
Yeah.
that actually gives you a reason to want to go and do time walking dungeons because you can build up and
Yeah.
earn cosmetic reward.
Mm-hmm.
Just like
Mounts,
Justice
toys,
Points.
and level appropriate gear.
Yep. Yeah, you can get new mounts from it. So, why didn't they just do this originally with the dungeons? Like, why did they get rid of Justice and Valor? I miss them. But
And
I kind
they
of.
miss
You
you.
think we'll see a
They
system
miss
like
you,
this again? And you think we'll see this again in Legion since they're kind of bringing it back in a patch now?
Like where you earn currency
Like
from
a current-
dungeons
like-
and buy
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
I'd
What?
be down.
I
'Cause
never.
aside from getting the initial gear from the dungeons and then raids coming out, it's like we had no reason to go back and do dungeons again, ever.
Mm-hmm.
The thing I remember, unless I've got this completely wrong, that the reason we had Justice and Valor taken out is because it didn't sit with what Blizzard wanted. They didn't really see any value in it, and they wanted to obviously take it down different routes of putting the loot back in the content itself.
Yeah.
But with PvP, that's always sort of seemed a bit hypocritical because I understand you're in the content, you're doing PvP for the currency and coming back, but the fact there's PvP currency and you use it to buy different loot from vendors, and you can't do that with PvE content. I never understood why one went and the other didn't. And it looks like that might be changing, but yeah, I wouldn't see anything wrong with bringing it back. I think it was actually quite a good, fair system, to be honest. If you're willing to put the time in, and again, that's seems to be where WoW's going back to. The more the more time
Putting
you put in.
time back into it. Yeah.
But what about sort of this mercenary mode? Now we obviously know what it's about, but do you think this is going to get
When it
people
was-
excited?
Well, when it was first announced and barely there weren't very much details about it, I was excited about it. I thought, yay, my Alliance tunes can get into a battleground quickly. But now that I understand that you lose your racial abilities and get actually transformed into a different race while you're doing it, I don't think it's actually going to help because the majority of PvP players are Alliance and they play humans because of that overpowered
Because of the
racial.
racial.
yeah. So we're not going to want to give that up. So
And
Yeah.
you could
And I
always,
could never betray the war chief.
I just feel sorry for the people who swap over from Horde to Alliance to become Worgen, because our racial sucks. You can basically swap between human and Worgen form. That's basically it. I don't know if you'll get like the mount option or anything like that, but still, like you say, there are races that are better at PvP than others. That's just unfortunate.
They could have gone in horrible
hope-
directions.
Yeah, that
what
could have
you were
gone. I'm not
saying.
saying. Yeah,
it's just some races are better than others.
yeah. That's basically where I'm going.
Gosh.
Garrett,
In World of Warcraft.
man.
Let me specify.
Oh man. let me clarify that statement.
I've been reading a lot about Garrosh's autobiography, and I really do agree with some of the points he's making on the new Horde. Okay, I'm going to start that conversation there because irony only gets you so far.
He's dead. He's dead. Okay, it doesn't matter.
Okay, it's a posthumous biography then.
It still hurts.
Garrosh, the War Chief, and I.
The war chief.
Actually, that could be a brilliant. That could be a brilliant musical, couldn't it?
So ultimately, I don't think mercenary mode is going to help
Yeah.
out that much.
Getting back on point. Yep.
Just because people are going to cling to their racials, I think
Mm.
Blizzard really needs to take a look at how that's actually balancing out PvP right now. Um, and then again, flying. I think it's cool. I think they should have done something like this a lot sooner in the expansion, like kind of like what they're doing with Legion, like have you be able to start the quest sooner,
Yeah,
know
but they
about
haven't
it
said
sooner.
when they'll actually introduce the flying in Legion.
Right.
And
But
I mentioned
like there's
to Britzza when you weren't on the show that
mhm.
like I'm okay with this type of system where you earn it, but it has to be introduced in like the first patch.
Right, right. Because like getting lore master and getting all these reps to exalted like you need, it would have been great to know about that when the expansion first came out, even if it's not coming out till now. The flying.
Yeah.
Um, but now all the people who didn't do that at the start are like, oh, now I have to go back and do all these quests, do all these reps. It's a lot to do, but of course it should be a lot to do to earn flying.
But is it worth
Yeah.
it though? Because like I'm not. I'm thinking like I might not even bother getting flying.
See,
Right.
I feel like when it's introduced this late in the expansion, it doesn't feel worth it. But if it had been introduced earlier, I would have been much more like, okay, yeah, I'm going to go out there and make sure I earn all this stuff for it because that's going to help me during the next few patches. Oh, wait, there aren't a next few patches. This is it.
Exactly.
The only reason I wanted it was I
Yes.
wanted to exploit the game, and Blizzard don't like me doing that apparently. So it's. But yeah, no, you're right. What's the point in getting it, in my opinion? Because we're not going to be sticking around here for too long. I really hope I don't have to come back here with any of my characters.
Leveling alts, you're going to hit
Yeah.
Draenor and then suddenly not be able to fly if you didn't earn it.
Yeah, but at the same time, I think the leveling experience in Draenor is kind of fun anyway. So I could live without flying, and plus you're not going to be in there too
That's
long.
true.
A couple of hours, and then you're back out again. Yeah, maybe you get up to about 98, and you probably go to the next zones. So, I could probably live without it, but it depends on, like you said, Tarley, whether I can be bothered to go around all those zones again and actually finish the stories. I don't know if I've got the patience. I mean, I've barely got the patience to deal with the dailies and all the other stuff I'm trying to do. So, it's maybe if they just gave it to people like, I don't know. Maybe they should just give it to everyone when the new expansion launches. Maybe that's fair. Congratulations, you bought our next expansion. Here's flying for the old one if you need an alt leveled or something like that.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but hey, might be useful because we all want to go back to Ashran.
All right. So next topic, there was a big interview, I guess, or some more wrapped up interviews from Gamescom, I think, with the developers that we can go over real quick from MMOgames.com. So I guess we can just jump through each question by question real quick. Each one of us can cover a different one. So just starting off here, MMO Games asked, what lessons have you learned from Draenor in managing player expectations in terms of lore and storyline?
Going for the gonads quick.
Well, there was one
Right.
above the picture. There's a question above
Yeah,
the picture there.
Oh, okay, I'll do
Which
that.
is really simple.
I'll do that one quick. So you made hints to a pre-expansion event. Is this the case? Is Broken Shore beginning the process of introducing this expansion in episodic stages? And Tom Chilton replied, the Broken Shore is part of the pre-expansion content patch that will kick off that entire process of the Legion invasions and all other happenings. So,
Which they mentioned in a different interview, which I thought was exciting, that there's going to be Legion invasions all over Azeroth. I think we're going to be getting
That's
a
gonna be
very,
fun.
which is what it should have done.
just kind of like Wrath of the Lich King event type thing.
That's
Yeah.
exactly what I was going to say. It all points towards
Demons everywhere.
Yeah, and
We need to call in Sam and Dean.
I've actually still got the armor sets you did for doing those pre-invasion events for Wrath. You had like a specific event, so that would be cool if they brought something like that. But sorry, Tarley, you had the second question.
All right, so
The big one.
again, what lessons have you learned from Draenor managing player expectation in terms of lore and storyline? And Tom Chilton,
Tom.
Sure.
however you say his name, Tom
said.
he responds by, I'm not sure that I agree with the question on a fundamental level. It's an assumption of a statement of fact that there is less story in Draenor than previous expansions. When we made the announcement And right before the announcement, we ran the story that has happened so far trailer. If you take that and combine it with the Lords of War series that we did, you know that things led up to the expansion and all that kind of stuff, and you compare it against the other expansion, except maybe Mists of Pandaria, it comes out overwhelmingly favorable. So I don't know it is something to agree with. And Hazakosis says, one thing I will say in general about lessons learned from Warlords of Draenor in terms of storytelling is that the level of experience is not in question. We had very clear, compelling, powerful story. In our raids and dungeons, we kind of touched on where the story ended up. In terms of bridging the gap between those while telling the story, it was often in a way that felt disconnected from the world itself, kind of fragmented. We were really trying to much better integrate the storytelling in game so there's clear plot line that the players can follow from start to finish. And Tom Shelton wraps up by, we will definitely want to express it more through the max level content than we did in Warlords. So yeah, they're definitely going to tell more stories in the game.
Do any of us have any problems with what Tom Chilton said at the start of that answer? Yeah, go on.
I just think like they did great with all the external stuff with Lords of War and videos and stuff, but it's just not the same as having the story in the game.
Exactly.
Well, and the leveling,
again,
the
their
leveling
content
process was also
amazing.
really good.
It was great.
But then
they did that really well, and then it's
like,
kind of dropped.
Died. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I totally agree with I'm really glad actually that they picked up the point on that disconnect between the story they were telling in raids and dungeons and the world stuff, because it didn't feel tied together. They felt very standalone. So I'm glad they're going to be addressing that and telling that story a little bit more consistently. It's just like you said, I don't think it's fair to say, whilst I agree they did create a compelling story behind the Warlords and things like that, it's a couple of YouTube videos. It's not playable story, and I'd rather have a lot more playable story than stuff that came out before the expansion even launched. So, but otherwise, fair point.
Zul, you want to cover the next question?
Sure. It says, there's an awful lot of lore being referenced in Legion. Is this you realizing that you might have skimmed too much on general lore concepts in Draenor? And Tom Chilton replied, story is the core of the world we create. I think all of our expansions, I would say, are lore heavy and they meaningfully advance the story. I would even make the argument that this one may be more than most, just in terms of heavy-hitting major characters and figures that are involved, and some that we haven't heard from in a while. We are, of course, getting back to the Burning Legion, which is the great antagonist of the World of Warcraft universe. We're actually leaving most of the events of Draenor behind. The only thing that sort of escaped, we went and solved the timeline that threatened to engulf our own and destroy us. Is this one wrinkle, Gul'dan, who got tossed into the Twisting Nether and found his way into our time.
Any thoughts?
I almost feel like that question the answer didn't really answer the question much. I mean,
yeah.
I think, I think he is trying to defend it by saying that look, obviously the question's saying, did you skimp out on lore in general for Warlords? And he's saying, well, actually, no, we do have a lot of lore in all of them, but at the same time, we're leaving everything that we address behind, and the only thing that escapes is Gul'dan. Now, I see his point. We did address that story to completion, but you did skimp out on the lore because we didn't address Grom. That didn't get solved. He just, started cheering with the rest of us. He kind of merged in with the crowd and thought he was one of us.
It's almost like the way he phrases that is like, we're kind of gonna forget Draenor ever happened.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It does sound like that.
That's the vibe I get from that answer.
And they've used Gul'dan to bring. Noble on YouTube summed it up. He said that he thought Warlords was basically the whole reason for Warlords existing was just to get Gul'dan back into our universe, and it does feel like that's exactly what it was. And I think not that they necessarily skimped out on lore, they just didn't use the lore effectively. And Grom was such a huge pivotal character, and he was wasted in this expansion, to be honest.
Yes.
So, and a couple of the some of the other Warlords got their time, but still, I think the idea of having Ner'zhul there, the Death Knights got their own little interaction with Ner'zhul to an extent, didn't they? But you could have played with that so much. Effectively you're taking on the pre-Lich King Lich King. Mm-hmm. So that could have been an expansion in itself. In comes Bolvar riding Deathwing, and hilarity ensues.
And then we just get Three's Company.
Right, yeah, another short one for me, which is probably a good thing. There's an awful lot of nods to the old Warcraft expansion zones in Legion's trailer. Is this deliberate? And Tom Chilton replies, yes, in that we're dealing with Azeroth, and it's very deliberate that Broken Isles feels like a part of Azeroth. There are definitely inspirations from different parts of the world, and each zone definitely has its own unique look and take that is distinct from anywhere else. So, unless I got that wrong, I don't think that answered the question. It's just a case of it's in Azeroth. That's as nostalgic as it's going to get for anything.
Yeah, well, like, I feel like MMO games, their questions are very leading. Like, they're trying almost to be antagonistic in their questions.
Mm-hmm.
And Tom Chilton is just like, well, we can tell what you guys are doing. This is what I'm going to tell you. This is my answer,
Yeah.
Which is fair. They're journalists to an extent, really, aren't they? So they are journalists. But, yeah, it does seem like they are leading him. But I think that's a sign of, where people are sitting on the Warlord spectrum at the moment. That we do want to see this expansion deliver the goods. And, at the same time, there's a lot of exciting concepts in this expansion. But we just haven't heard of them all yet. But sorry, Tarley, or Zul, feel free to take the next question.
All right. So they ask, very simple question. What's your favorite part of Legion and why? Tom answers by saying, the reality for me is that it's the entire package. Giggity. Specific things that I am looking forward to. I'm really happy that we're updating the honor system for the first time in 8 years or so. That's exciting for me as somebody who's worked on a lot of PvP stuff back in the day. And Ian Hazakosa says, I'll say artifacts. Artifact weapons give players a chance to wield some of the greatest weapons in the Warcraft universe. Some of these things that they've heard about for years and always wanted to get their hands on. Now it can actually happen. Also, there's additional layer of progression and customization it brings. It's a true parallel advancement system outside of the standard experience and character levels. I personally agree with Ian Hazakosis. I am really excited for artifacts, especially because it brings a whole nother part of progression outside of your standard leveling and stuff. I think it's a really cool idea. I'm stoked for it.
And it's differentiated leveling as well. You've got that different sort of the different routes you can take that weapon, that artifact in. So again, you're helping people to distinguish their characters a little bit more. And I think probably a lot of players, including myself, have always perhaps approached this a little bit pessimistically by going, "Oh, we're all going to be wielding Ashbringer." But at the same time, the lore. I've said on previous show that that's not an issue. The game only ever presumes you're the only hero, so that's not an issue lore-wise.
Right.
But like you say, we can
and
now
that's
differentiate.
That's only Ret Paladins too.
Exactly, yeah. And
it's not like everybody's wielding Ashbringer, just Ret Paladins.
Everybody. It's the only artifact.
But, I mean, because I've heard that, like everybody is saying everyone's wielding Ashbringers. What the just Ret Paladins.
Ret Paladins are
an Ashbringer for all my friends. Just dishing them out in the gift shop. But yeah, no, it's just it's an excellent opportunity just to really add some character to your own character. Excuse the awful phrase. But Tom Chilton talking about the honor system. Tarley, you're our sort of expert PvP guy.
Oh yeah.
Is that bigger than artifacts? Do you think, or is that just a much needed update that everyone should have expected by now?
It's a much needed update, but they've left so much in the dark as to what's actually going to happen. It's like has a lot of people worried. It could be great, but it could be terrible. They've barely talked about because the main thing is there's no more PvP gear. So that means the way I look at it is people who don't raid, they just purely do PvP. How are they going to be getting gear? That's where people are concerned right now. They haven't really addressed it. So otherwise, it sounds like a really cool idea.
Zul, do you want to take the next one?
Sure. Let's see here. Demon Hunters have only 2 specs, and your presentation points to Hunters having one of their specs evolving into a role similar to Amazon's in Diablo. Is this going to play out across all class specs? And Tom Chilton replied, almost right, but not quite. just because the survival hunter's weapon is a spear, it's a melee weapon, not a bow. That's because we're evolving that particular spec to be a melee hunter. It'll be the hunter in melee with their pet. The marksmanship hunter will be a ranged hunter with no pet, and the beastmaster hunter will be a ranged hunter with a pet. That's how we're evolving the distinction between those, and that's why the survival hunter's artifact is a spear. That's different from the Amazon in Diablo 3. She was a ranged javelin thrower.
So well, at least he's clarified the hunter situation. However, we don't know if that's affecting all classes.
Yeah, he completely dodged the other classes.
And let's take a guess. Do you think all classes could go that way? I have very different, not different specs.
Zool said before the show.
Yeah.
Zool said before the show that all the specs that are pure DPS could really use some differentiating between the specs, and I agree with that.
Blizzard Watch had a good article by their rogue columnist talking about what artifact weapons could mean for rogues and the spec distinction could mean, and was saying like, well, what if assassination was the only spec that had both stealth and poisons? What if combat just plain didn't have stealth anymore and they just went that more swashbuckler route that it always has been anyways, you know?
Yeah.
And subtlety had stealth but didn't have poison anymore. And then like with assassination, it would almost make sense to let them start using ranged weapons, let them use a bow, because, you know, they could still be stealthed and poison their bows and like shoot from a distance, you know? And there, boom, you have 3 classes that are fairly different from each other just from doing that. I mean, or 3 specs, I mean. But like doing that for all the classes, that's a lot of work to really change up the specs that much. So
and when they're adding in a new class entirely. So
yep.
I mean, but
of
maybe,
course the class only has 2 specs.
At the same time, we've heard that Blizzard's team for WoW is the largest it's ever been, and everyone's been wondering, well, we don't see that in Warlords. Well, maybe there's a lot of work going into this expansion that we still don't know about. Yeah.
They have been working on this since Warlords was released, or even before that. So
you know, maybe they were planning on doing these. Maybe they've been planning on doing these class updates for a while, but they needed to get the gear updates in with Warlords. You know, where items can change,
and the character models, and
yeah, and so you have, you know, your different gear that can work for different specs. It changes with you, all that type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they needed to get some of these system side things in to continue with these changes.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I'll just take the next question very quickly because it's pretty simple. Can you reveal where the Hunter's class hall will be located? And Ian Hazacosta said, I believe it's in the peaks of the Zone High Mountain. It's because they have Hunter's Lodge up there. I've noticed a lot, actually. Again, I don't want to sound like I'm nitpicking. I'm just generally analysing what's in front of me. But the way they're saying, like, I believe and I think, makes me sound like we're still not fully fixed yet. And
yeah, I mean, it's still fairly, I mean, they're probably still nailing down a lot of that stuff, and they probably don't want to, like, if they change it to a different zone, you said it was going to be in High Mountain, and people will freak out about it.
And
for no reason.
Blizzard has already said, they've already said they're keeping their lips sealed a lot more than they did about Draenor because of what happened, all the stuff that was announced and then cut. They really don't want to talk about much until they're certain it's in the game.
I guess, yeah, because my thought is that they also say they hope that they could see the beta this year, but the more sort of uncertainty, but like you say, that could be just them keeping their lips sealed tightly, but what I see is perhaps a hint of we're still considering it, and that makes me think that, you know, we might see the beta 2016 rather than 2015, but again, that's just me not being pessimistic, but just seeing what's what.
I'll just get the next 2 questions here. Here's an easy one. Will there be a 12th character slot? Yes. So I could leave it up there, but I'll get the next question because that one's easy. When do you think you'll go into alpha or beta? And Tom Shilton replies, we're already in internal alpha. So that's cool. They're already at that point. And then they're expecting beta this year. That's about all we know at this point. So they're expecting it anyway.
So they're already playing around over there.
Yep.
They're already double jumping to their heart's content.
Many an hour killed. But at the same time, you want the Blizzard employees to get back to work. They just
Stop double jumping
Yeah.
and make me things.
This isn't Mario. Zul, do you want to take the next one?
Yeah, the next one is kind of weird to me, but yeah. So MMO Games
This is
says
so bad.
Gamescom is clearly better than BlizzCon, but do you think Legion will be playable at BlizzCon? What does that first part even have to do with the second part of the? I don't. Okay, but yeah, like I said, I have
That's
issues
kind of a
with
jerky
their questions.
thing to say.
I think sarcasm
Yeah, I
just
have
doesn't come
issues
through
with
on
MMO
text.
Games questions.
Yeah, I think it's them
but-
trying to be funny, but they're just not coming through.
But they're just being jerks instead. Okay, so Tom Chilton
Yeah.
says, it's very likely that the first playable tour of the world will be at BlizzCon. Certainly we'll have some new stuff to show and new stuff to talk about.
Exciting stuff.
Yeah. And Britzza, I want to lead us into the
Yeah.
last question.
I'll just take the last one. So MMO Games close with saying, is the launch of Legion coordinated with the launch of the Warcraft movie? Which is probably one of the big thoughts on everybody's mind. Tom Chilton says, we don't know. They've changed the date of the movie a couple of times on us. Interesting comment. Assuming that is when they currently have it planned. It could be anywhere in that neighbourhood. It could be before or after. And Ian Hazakostis says, ultimately we're excited about the movie ourselves. We're fans when it comes to that and Universal. We're fans when it comes to that, and Universal are going to do an awesome job with it. But the release date of our game is when the time is right. So yeah, that's good.
And honestly, Legion is so different from the movie that it wouldn't even make sense to like try to coordinate the launch.
Right.
I mean, I
they
mentioned it
have nothing
before,
to do
but,
with
you know,
each other.
You go see the movie and you're like, yeah, orcs are fighting humans. I'm gonna go play. Wow, there's pandas fighting demons. What the crap?
And who's this
I mean,
Illidan guy? What's going on?
There's no point. There is no point in trying to coordinate them, and it's just weird to think that they would.
It is weird. It is really weird, and I think we said it
Like
last
it
show,
might
didn't we?
happen, but I don't think it'll be on purpose if it does. It'll just be like, oh, well, we're ready to launch, and I guess the movie's coming out. Okay, whatever.
And also, I guess the question is that what's the movie's point? Like, this isn't a go at the movie. I'm saying, what's the movie trying to do with the actual franchise? It's just trying to take, the franchise and just,
A new direction.
yeah, a new direction, just and put it in a new format that it's never been before.
And on its own, like
Mm-hmm.
the movie universe is totally separate from the game universe.
And that's
it's
it.
its own thing.
Yep.
It's Warcraft just trying to do its own thing in a different area. And I think, like you say, if you coordinate with the game, it brings two things together that are not trying to be together. Let the movie go do its thing, let the game do its thing, and check them both out if you're interested. So I'm glad they're not. To be honest, I wouldn't mind if they're a couple months apart. To be honest, I think that'd be the best outcome.
Yeah. Well, I honestly hope that it launches well before the movie comes out, because the movie's not supposed to come out till June.
Yeah, that would be best.
Yeah.
I
Oh
hope.
yeah. That'd be a long time of this patch if it doesn't come out till June.
Yeah.
Still not as long as Siege though. So
But for as far as the raid tier goes, pretty much as long, almost.
yeah, actually, that's a good.
Maybe not, patch 6.2, no, but there's 6.2.2. But for the final raid tier, they would have been around for a
It'll
while
be
at
at
that
least
point.
a year. Yeah.
Yep.
So
All right. So. Yep.
Go on,
Yeah.
Simon.
I'm just wondering if we can move on, or if you had anything else to say on this time.
No,
All right,
yeah.
so we can move on to a discussion of the week. Even though that last one was kind of more of a discussion than we probably have on this one.
Yeah.
Just a quick thought. It kind of looks like we're going this way. We're getting closer. Will Blizzard ever achieve their goal of yearly expansions? And if they do, is it actually something that the player base wants? Did Warlords feel rushed, and was it a little bit too short because they're actually trying to achieve this goal?
I'll stand back for this one for a moment because I think I've done enough talking.
What do you think, Zul?
Um, if they hit their goal of yearly expansions, I don't think Warlords is too short because they would need to be shorter than other expansions have been if they're going to do yearly. Having, kind of like 2 raid tiers,
Yep.
works totally fine if you're going to go yearly. That's totally cool. You don't need to have 3 raid tiers and 5 patches. You can do a couple and then you're in the next one. And if they do it right, that's totally fine.
What about you, Tarley?
I would agree if they're doing it right. I feel like Warlords. If Legion was coming out this like November or December, I don't think Warlords would have been too short. But I feel like Legion is not going to hit the year mark.
It's going to be a little
I feel
over,
like Warlords. I feel like Warlords just kind of felt rushed in general because they released Warlords and you're like, all right, let's work on Legion. If they are going to do yearly expansions, I think they need to make the current one feel loved and feel like there's enough content to have it be fun, which Warlords just didn't.
And I think that's the thing is when people say, do we want yearly expansions? I think the thing with expansions is we say we want yearly expansions because we want that content that each expansion brings. But at the end of the day, that's what we're after. I guess the question is, do we want regular content or content that lasts from the start of an expansion right up to the next one? I mean, I guess it wouldn't matter if Legion lasted 2 years as long as there was stuff to different and that kept going. For
That's
2
the
years.
Thing. Like, an expansion doesn't necessarily have to be exactly 12 months. They just need to fill an expansion with content that's worth playing.
And that's that just
I think
highlights. Sorry, Charlie, go on.
Yeah. I just think that's the bigger thing that Blizzard needs to focus on, really.
Yeah, I agree. I think it highlights the challenge they have, which is how do you keep a player base consistently engaged with your game, effectively, every day of the week for a year, 2 years at a time. But yeah, at the end of it, they need to just think about, perhaps even take some inspiration from games around them, other MMOs, and just sit there and think, right, how are we going to, give something different every couple of months, say, for example, something fresh. And, raid tiers are designed for that. They bring out a new patch, they bring out a couple of raids or a new raids tier.
Honestly, Mists of Pandaria's pace up until 5.2 or Siege of Orgrimmar 5.4 came out, like the pace was great for that expansion. Like this expansion, Warlords had no minor patches with content in it. I mean, they even came out and said that we shouldn't have called 5.1 or 6.1. It should have been 6.0.5 or something. So
yeah, the minor patches were more like just neat little things. They were cool things we got, but they weren't.
They brought story and just stuff to do. Like I think that's what Blizzard needs to actually keep the content engaging. Just add new quest lines, new rewards. Even if it's not a raid tier, you can still get content in the game.
Yeah.
I guess the way, if they wanted to do it on a yearly basis, I wouldn't mind a patch every either 3 patches and the patch every 3 months, or 2 patches every 4 months, and then you get a kind of, and take this with a pinch of salt, a sort of Ruby Sanctum-ish style patch where it's just a bit of content to see you into the expansion, which by then is coming out in a couple of months. And I think if they could get that pattern and rhythm, you'd be fine.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we do get a Ruby Sanctum-ish thing for Warlords if Legion takes too long, but I don't know. Legion seems like it's really far along already.
Well, they talk about this pre-invasion event, and the Broken Oz is going to be forming part of that. So, in a sense, that could be our Ruby Sanctum. Maybe they will have a dungeon or some aspect of a raid.
And they've already said that we will be legitimately surprised by the amount of content that's in the Broken Shore quest line. So that'll be cool. Whatever that surprises us with.
You mean there will be 10 days?
Yeah.
I guess that.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, things that are staying in Warlords. I mean, Apexis crystals obviously aren't going. Are we going to see a similar currency? Do we know to Apexis crystals?
No, I I'm fairly certain they're going back to dailies because they
Yeah.
kind of realized how much people didn't like the Apex's system.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
They just have to find that balance because they do too many dailies and people complain. They don't have enough, people complain. They have to find that balance.
But at the same time, they've got a great selection of zones. This is probably the most exciting story since Wrath, I would say, in terms of excitement, because you have got Illidan back, and we are dealing with stuff to do with the Titans. We are fighting the Burning Legion. We knew it was coming. So whether whether it's Marmite to you, whether you love it or hate it, we're facing the Burning Legion. So we'll either get to do it and enjoy it, or we'll get it out the way. That's the way to look at it.
Yep.
And it's just a great basis for content. The main issue, like we've just sort of been hinting at, is that content going to consistently remain fresh right up until the expansion after Legion? And that's something where Blizzard has sort of fallen down in this expansion. They just didn't get the pace right, and still haven't got it right, because we're looking at probably another 6 months of this. So,
Yep.
But at the same time, do you think maybe we got the question of whether yearly expansion should be a bit short? Do you guys think what would happen if they had like a patch every 6 months and that was it? You got 2 patches, like say they were very distinct. I'm not saying an expansion every 6 months, but say you got a very different patch, like one half of a story and then another very different half of a story 6 months after that. Would that be interesting enough, do you think?
No, 'cause we'd probably finish the content, 3 months in, and then run into the same situation that we keep running into.
Then is the problem with the players then? Is it the fact we're just burning through this content just so quickly?
Well, possibly. I mean, like we saw in Warlords, Blizzard just kind of threw gear at everybody, so it was pretty easy to progress through the content.
Yeah.
Maybe they just made the content a little bit harder. May actually just make you have to invest more time in doing it. And then maybe they could get away with longer patch cycles if it took longer to gear up and complete. But
because I guess it's a psychology behind it, isn't it? I mean, the problem is that there's a lot of I think we're all looking at this expansion and we're not seeing that carrot on the stick anymore. Or if we are, it's a very tiny carrot and it's not going to keep us alive. So we ditch it, we get out the race quickly. But I think if, like you say, Tarley, Blizzard just puts a juicier carrot on the end of the stick. Like if it's said in Warlords, even if it just puts some really juicy legendary weapon or some really juicy gear hidden around zones or tied into lore, the lore quests or the lore achievements, that would be enough to get people saying, right, actually, this is what the game is for me now, about getting towards that weapon or getting towards that loot or getting towards those set of mounts that I can now unlock by doing these achievements, quests, whatever. And that would keep people going. I just think there's not a carrot on the end of the stick anymore, and that's the problem. And that's all Blizzard needs to do. It just needs to have a carrot on the end of the stick. And at the moment, it's dangling Illidan, and he looks pretty annoyed about that. So, I guess if they put it back on, but give us something exciting, like you say, maybe a Ruby Sanctum style thing. Maybe we can conclude the Grom story. That would be amazing. Because if Warcraft has one thing, its players have very short memory spans in the sense that if something's good now, we'll forget how rubbish it was in the past.
Right. If they released a little thing that was suddenly good at the end of Warlords, people were like, "Oh man, Warlords was great."
The great leveling experience. Raids were quite good, actually, well balanced, and that thing at the end, really, second best expansion. Yep.
That's what would happen. Like that is seriously what
it would
happen.
work exactly. But Blizzard's now focusing on Legion, so maybe that won't happen. Come on, Blizzard, just put the carrot on the end of the stick, and you'll just it's enough then. But sorry, any thoughts your
all right.
Any final thoughts?
That pretty much covers it all.
I guess we better move on then.
Any from you, Zil? All right. Do we have any shout-outs? It's time for Heroes Call.
Yes, I have
Any
a shout out
shout-outs
to
All right.
the somebody new joined Britzza and myself on the Let's Talk Geekdom podcast. And her name is RC.
Her?
And you can find her on Twitter. Yeah, her, right? I know. You can find her on Twitter at RCFinOnFire. And so yeah, she's joining us on Let's Talk Geekdom. She used to play WoW a lot. She's planning on getting back into it, so she'll probably join us on this show at some point.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Any for you, Tarley? I haven't got any myself.
Nope. I've got none.
Shout out to you people listening.
Yes, of course. Shout out to the
All
listeners.
one of you.
Shout out to.
Hi, Tarley's mum.
Oh God.
She stopped listening.
Shout out to the horse. I'll give a shout out to that horse that's sitting right outside the window listening to the show. So.
I think
Hi, horse.
You must be in some
we
majestic
have
wonderland
crossed
right now.
the species barrier in our listener.
Exactly.
impressive.
Yes.
Well, we had listeners in Antarctica, so I think literally we'd done geography. So yeah, now
Penguins.
species is the next thing.
Wow. All right. Well, thank you all very much for listening. As always, you can check out our show on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, and Twitch, and soon Hitbox. Wait, no, we took that out of the notes a long time ago.
We stopped worrying about that.
You can find us on Twitter at Geeks of Azeroth. You can find me personally at Tarley_pause. What about you, Zool?
You can find me at Zulgeek.
What about you, Britzza?
You can find me at Britzza_EG.
And as always, you can send your love for the show, your hate for the show, your questions, shoutouts, anything like that through geeksofazerotheg@gmail.com. We'd love to read all of your hatred on the show. And remember to check us out at www.epicgeeks.co.uk for all the content we do. We've got a Wildstar podcast is on there, as well as a really interesting podcast about geekdom that these two talk about. It's pretty fun.
Let's talk
It's a good show.
about that
Really?
geekdom.
Exciting plans for the future as well. I think talking our pre-talk. Some good
Yeah,
stuff.
we've got some future stuff coming out. We've got a new show about Destiny that'll be starting up. We don't have a name for that yet, but stay tuned for that as well as some Diablo. We're going to be playing Diablo once season 4 starts. So
Gonna try to get some of that going.
stay tuned for all that.